Hello and welcome to the fourth webinar of the Power of AI in Recruitment series. I'm Andrew, Head of Marketing at Matchr, and today I will be your host. I'm happy to introduce our guest speaker, Mikel Petrocchi, who works on the forefront of implementing automation and AI in real practice. Mikel is co-founder of Jobin.Cloud, a comprehensive platform for recruiters and sourcers that include both automation and AI integrations. All right, Mikel, welcome on stage. Hi, Mikel. Happy to have you today.
Pleasure to have you. Thank you for having me, Andrew. And it's a pleasure to be here on Matchr today. And yeah.
Tell us, please, a little bit more about what you do at Jobin.Cloud and how it can help recruiters and sourcers to save huge amount of time.
Of course. So at Jobin.Cloud, I'm a co-founder and primarily involved in the customer success management side of things. So I'm very involved with our users, be it solo recruiters, small teams, or even agencies. And I basically excel in finding and helping them achieve success and efficient workflows.
Cool. Mikel, we're anticipating that today's session will be super insightful for recruiters and sourcers who joined us and really want to get some insights into automation and AI. But before we jump into presentation, I have a very quick announcement. In 2 weeks, on November 2nd, we host the Tech Recruitment Conference in Amsterdam, and we invite you to join us. We'll have speakers from renowned companies like Uber, McKinsey, Miro, Booking.com, and many others. You can join us both in person and online. And for those who decide to join us online, we have 20% discount. Subscribe to our recruitment newsletter, and you'll receive the promo code. All the links in the description on YouTube or will be in the comments if you watch us on LinkedIn. So, Mikel, the floor is yours.
Hello again, and thank you all for joining today. And going a bit more in detail on today's session of the series, when AI is combined with automation, and well, various tips on how it can increase your productivity. But first, before we delve into deeper into this, I guess, more potentially broad argument, what exactly is productivity? What, I guess, it defines being productive. And as technology has always advanced, and I guess, yeah, as times have been, I guess, yeah, going forward, the requirements, the standards of productivity have always been increasing as well. So this means that the more tools, the more functionalities we've always gradually been provided with, the more we are expected to do to be considered productive. And we're at the strong turning point nowadays with, in fact, the introduction of AI into potentially the workplace as well, meaning that sooner or later, potentially even in, I guess, future occasions, later on in, I guess, more likely in several years still, so we're still at the forefronts here, but likely AI is going to become a actual necessity potentially in the workplace and a potential, I guess, requirement to help us enhance our workflows and be considered, I guess, more productive from, like I said, these standards that end up increasing. But nowadays we're, I guess, at that turning point for this revolutionary development. So for anyone that's able to become basically an early adopter of these technologies and be able to quickly adapt, you end up becoming end up excelling in your industries by being able to being able to get ahead of the curve. And this means it's end up become a bit more of a snowball effect as well, because as you end up being more productive than your competitors, as you end up basically being more successful, you also end up having better relationships with your clients and end up having potentially even more contracts and generally an overall snowball effect in success. So how is it that we can, get ahead of the curve and, beat the competition? And first of all, we're going to want to go a bit more detail on why does automation, or what does AI make us more productive? You're actually all already a bit familiar with automation, as it's been around for several years now and has almost now become, more of a stable part of the workplace, becoming almost, necessary for certain approaches. And automation helps us save lots of time by basically automating and managing all those potentially more mundane tasks. So, for example, especially in recruitment, rather than having to view each profile one by one, which is very time-consuming, or having to always manually, highlight or write down any particular notes or, keywords within the profiles that are necessary, we can now automate those by, at scale, automatically importing and downloading that data. But of course, bringing that even to a step higher, you can potentially even now extract and import even the entire lists of profiles without even having to spend too much time. So easily in one click, you can have large listings and all that, potentially mundane tasks automated. And there are even more tools, especially of what we're producing here at Jobin.Cloud, functionality that allow you to automate even more potentially advanced aspects of the workflow. But automation at a, core aspect helps us simply save time for the more mundane tasks. Whereas what AI provides us, and why it's, so revolutionary, because it provides an additional layer of intelligence brought to the workplace, where now even potentially more sophisticated types of tasks can be assisted and boosted by the assistance of AI. And if anyone's already tried, experimented and worked with the ChatGPT, you've noticed that, well, they seem like basically like a person. They help you, they answer questions that you ask them, and they can overall help your efficiency in pretty much anything you ask them. So in lots of different sectors or industries, you can always have AI assist you and boost your efficiency. But if you combine that intelligence, that layer of, more advanced assistance, and combine that with automation, this allows you to automate even more advanced type tasks, making overall the workflow even more smooth and even more automated, while being able to basically increase your overall productivity and focus even more time on those actual essential manual or human tasks, like actually having calls with those contacts or clients and having, a more strong bond with them, because you end up having more time to do the more important tasks as opposed to those more potentially mundane ones. So it's overall, I'd say, even an upgrade to automating those aspects in our workflow. And today, rather than simply giving, kind of inspirational advice on how we're at this forefront of technology and we can help speed up our productivity, I'm actually here to also provide some actual practical examples, because oftentimes between, simply giving suggestions on how you should do things and how it's better to do things, it's always then hard to actually then potentially apply them in practice, or in most cases, it's mostly advice and good advice, but you end up having the difficulty to apply it and put it into action yourself. So I'm here also directly to showcase these functionalities, these ways to automate and improve your task and help you save time so you can focus more on the actual important tasks in your workflow, but directly actually showcasing some of these AI functionalities in practice that we provide here over at Jobin.Cloud. And going ahead here and sharing my screen on this is a general Jobin.Cloud repository that I've built for this example. And Jobin.Cloud allows me and provides me with a bit of an all-in-one workflow automation. And this means I can automatically have it grab and import profiles that might catch my interest. This allows me to import automatically from any LinkedIn listing, be it groups, posts, events, searches, and so on. And those profiles are automatically in full downloaded into my repository for me. If I were to, for example, open, say, Tom's profile, I have his entire career information, be it experiences, descriptions, and well, in this case, quite a long career as well, educational information, skills, volunteering experiences, certificates, languages, pretty much anything about them. And this already allows me to efficiently have all the information I need to then effectively manage them within that database. So if I reach out to in this case, Tom, and they mention being potentially interested in future job positions, and I end up having a job position where Tom is matching, I already have all the information I need to effectively be able to engage with them without having to, start the entire conversation with them one by one. And of course, thanks to that filtration and data that we have on the repository, you can effectively at any time find who is the fits for the job. And going a bit more in depth on how can basically assist and improve on the screening for contacts to see if they are fitting for those positions, I'll show both first more of a automated approach, and then even a further upgraded and boosted version with AI, and basically how it further helps us automate at an even higher scale our workflow. With an example of what we do here at Jobin.Cloud, the filters you can run, they can, there can be lots. So showing this menu here, you can find all the various fields, but without going too much in depth on each one, I'll go with some very simple filters for a specific role. So in my case, I've got a lot of IT contacts in here. So I'll just write some keywords for, say, an IT type position. So I'm looking for Java, developer, and potentially as well software. And with these three keywords, you can already see that it's nicely filtering them out and showing me who are the results that happen to match these keywords. So I guess standard filters. But going a bit more in depth on this, Jobin.Cloud is already automating not just a filtration, but it's also actually ranking those results. So it's, once again, small step ahead as well from those basic filters. In fact, if we look at this, the results that we have are actually being ranked based on how many of those keywords each of those contacts are actually matching. If we look at Philippe here, for example, in fact, he's matching both my Java keyword, my software keyword, and my developer keyword, and therefore he's the very top of that results list. So automatically I'm having it even a bit more, being ranked for me. Going one step further, you can also, once again, further automate that filtration by potentially also adding actual multipliers to what makes something more important, what makes a contact more fitting for a specific position. And I can do so by actually clicking and opening any of these keywords that catch my interest. And I can, for example, set a level of importance multiplier. So in this case, say the software keyword, I'm adding a 3x multiplier. So all the next results I had, besides Philippe that matched all three of my keywords, the next results that are showing are in fact people that mention having software in that role title. So Java software engineer, software developer, and so on. And of course, you can keep in mind that with this ranking system, you can build a framework, not just a black and white type filter, to find and rank automatically contacts that have the most desirable types of keywords, most desirable types of functionality. And this is still with the more potentially mundane tasks of automation. But then going and showing how you can basically boost this with AI, oftentimes what used to be more of a manual task is, well, there's lots of people in IT that might be fitting for, say, a developer role. Why should I restrict my search to only people that match, say, Java, software, or developer keywords? There might be someone that's mentioned, again, a similar type of programming language and would be a great fit for that position, and I'd be missing out on them. And that's where AI comes in handy, because we can actually have it run a semantic search automatically for us for any related keyword similar to, in this case, for example, my Java keyword. And I can do this automatically by simply pressing this magnifying glass icon, or directly from the actual full screen menu and pressing find semantically similar keywords. Automatically by pressing this button, Jobin is going to scan that keyword, see which other semantically similar keywords there exist, and it's going to generate, as you can see, a comprehensive list of various other semantically corresponding programming languages or any other keyword that would potentially result as a fitting candidate that is still in line with what I'm looking for, without having to potentially miss out on them because they simply used a more unique or different type of keyword. And of course, I can fine-tune that. So if there's any particular ones that I'm not interested in, I can set them as exclusions by pressing the red X button, or even directly deleting them from my results list. And just like that, you can very easily fine-tune and have AI actually help you in making that automation more advanced. But instead of manually building the filter each time, if we have a great example already, say, for example, Philippe, that we saw earlier, I can also have AI just automatically generate a filter to find contacts similar to Philippe. So, and this is one of the features, in fact, that Jobin provides, where I can directly open a profile of interest, and from here I can find a specific button that allows me to generate a profile, a filter based on, a filter framework based on contacts like Philippe. So, of course, Philippe is in this case, a very high-ranking contact as far as the results go. So there are few results that are able to, match within his standards. But just like that, we've already created ourselves a nice automatically generated filter. And if I actually go a bit more in depth, and this is where you can see where the AI and automation comes in handy, because imagine writing all these keywords yourself. This basically saves lots of time, and of course you can always fine-tune it, so you can very easily micromanage it as well when necessary. But to even further automate the workflow, and especially in the recruitment workplace, you oftentimes have a specific role for a position, and you don't need to constantly write new filters. So if you already have a great framework set up, instead of having to constantly recreate them, or, well, with AI, you can still very relatively quickly create them, but you can further save time by directly assigning what makes an ideal candidate for a specific task you're working on. And especially in recruitment workflows, it's important to know and track how you've interacted with contacts. So, of course, automation can once again help us in tracking pipelines and segmenting those workflows. But going more in depth on those screening functionalities that I mentioned, say, for example, I have a specific Java developer task that I'm working on, I can define what makes the ideal Java developer. And this is a set of filters that I've set up from a prior example. And rather than having to always create a filter myself and start from scratch, I can directly from the contacts list, in the list of contacts and data you have, you can directly select that pipeline, and automatically the results are being ranked for me and displayed with an actual score of how fitting they are according to the desirable keywords that I've mentioned looking out for. So, for example, in this case, we have Alan with 50% fitting, Vishal with 59%, and Natalia instead, which didn't meet my minimum requirements. And of course, it's once again another example where automation has saved me lots and lots of time of having to manually look through everyone, and I can already at a quick glance tell who is potentially higher fit for that position compared to others. And I can also shortlist to efficiently, when even working with very large databases, find the very best results. So I can, for example, say only show results that have, say, 56% or higher fitting index scores, or in this case, let's increase the requirement even higher to 65%. There you go. So we have a nice shortlisted results list of the very best, and I didn't have to spend any time manually looking through everyone. I instead, basically, the task or the role kind of changes from the manual tasks to being more of a manager type thing, where you manage what makes a contact fitting. You have to kind of study the contacts and profiles instead, see what keywords make them, fitting, and what you should look out for. And then Jobin can automatically do that, or, well, any automation tool can help in that as well. But yeah, further in detail on how automation can further help that workflow, we're going to, of course, want to also reach out to contacts. We're going to want to be able to more effectively engage with them and actually start communicating with them, saying, hey, I've got a job offer for you, or maybe even from a business development side, when you're looking for clients, you can say, are you looking to actually hire some positions in your company? And once again, automation can help us further increase our productivity there by, in bulk, potentially allowing us to send a message to a larger selection of contacts. But you can even further automate things by not just running a single bulk operation on, for example, 8 contacts, but creating an actual fully fledged sequence of actions to run. And automation can once again help us here. And Jobin also provides this functionality directly, where you can build a campaign and set up a sequence. Using Jobin as example for the framework I have a example campaign here, where I have kind of like a map of various actions I want my sequence to build, be it sending an invitation to connect with them, and then in case they accepted, I send series of follow-ups. In case they don't accept, I instead potentially send them an email. And the automation here, in Rubin's case, can also help me automatically filter for them, where in case they're not accepting my invitation, I actually have a condition here that runs that checks for, does the contact have an available email address? And if they happen to have an email address available, I directly have an email sent out to them, which in my case I haven't defined, if anyone was wondering what that label was. But just like that, I can basically automate potentially multiple interactions to try and engage with the contact. And of course, since the human interaction is also important, once they do respond and they mention, yes, I'm interested, or maybe they mention, no, I'm not interested, those campaigns automatically stop. Because the end goal of automation is to help us, well, be an auxiliary tool to help us save time on, like I said, being able to engage and upscale our productivity. And of course, we're going to want to then have an easy interface to manage who is it that has now responded, who is it that is engaging with us, and we're going to want to be effectively have an interface to effectively be able to reply to everyone. Jobin also provides a functionality for that. But of course, tracking conversations and tracking those interactions are essential. So if I were to look at, say, any particular profile, I can in fact track the specific events that I've had with them. So I've had lots of interactions with these various example profiles, be it importing them or signing them to various jobs. But of course, I'm also going to want to track when I send them a message, receive replies, and so on. And Jobin has a dedicated interface to see a list of specifically everyone that has replied to us. And I happen to have an example here already. So if I open, in this case, my full messaging timeline, this shows overall activities and interactions I've had. But here on the left panel, I can find specifically the most recent interactions I have. For example, with Philippe, I wrote down that I had a phone call with him with, I guess, a custom note that I wrote. And this, of course, allows me to effectively then also track the interaction. So if I have another call with Philippe, I already know what I've spoken with them, and I can have a more engaging experience with them. But sticking to the, I guess, campaign side of things, since we're automating that outreach, and we're going to want to then find who is it that is interested in what we're reaching out to and what we're messaging and who's replied, we have a dedicated, in this case, filter to show exactly who has responded. So it nicely gives us a short list of, well, where do we need to work? And overall, like I say, helps us speed up that workflow. In this case, I have Maria as example, which sent me a message over on LinkedIn, which I haven't replied back to. And I can then easily, from one interface, directly read the reply, see the list of who I need to reply to, of course, as well, and then directly from here, reply back to them. Overall, further speeding up that workflow, speeding up my efficiency and productivity. And directly, I can then also track them into a according stage in that workflow, so I know how should I guess, continue interacting with them? How should I track them? Have they scheduled an interview? Are they at the job offer stage? And so on. And you can, of course, then with tools and various software also customize potentially these workflows and more in-depth, I guess, fine-tune them. But speaking on how we can enhance this once again with automation, potentially, well, you've probably all received it. Receiving a generic type message is usually not that engaging. Of course, you wouldn't really expect receiving anything different. So it's, I guess, not that engaging, but it's okay. I mean, it's a message that you receive. But of course, if you're able to have, I guess, a more engaging type of interaction where it seems like you're talking with an actual person that is trying to start a conversation with you, that ends up, I guess, making you a lot more likely to reply. And this is once again one of those features that AI can help us in. So if I, in this case, let's select a specific group of contacts. If I go for sending a message, for example, to them, and I write my standard message that you might all be familiar with, where I write that content, I quote some information about the contact, like what is their first name, and then I have a nice message sending out that says, "Hi, Lucas," and of course I write my message. But that's, I guess, not that engaging. It's not maybe that interesting. AI can help us by actually generating a sentence for us that reads the profile of Lucas or any other contact we have in our selection and actually generates, based on what we asked to do, a sentence that is a lot more engaging. And just to showcase this example, one of the AI-generated sentences I have already built is, for example, just to write a summary of the contact. So it's mostly just to showcase that it's reading information on the profile and actually outputting a relevant and unique type of sentence. And of course, this also allows you to add your own human touch as well, because I'm not having the AI send the message for me. I can basically create a hybrid between what is it that I want to write. So I want to write this starter message. I want to write a certain specific content in my message, and then you can have the AI kind of help out in making maybe an icebreaker section. And just to showcase basically what it does, how it generates these sentences, if I press on show preview here, it takes a bit long because it's generating that response. But here I have both the hi Lucas that I wrote earlier, and then the actual summary that I requested ChatGPT to generate for me. In this case, saying Lucas is a bilingual Java developer with 5 years of experience, specialized in agile methodologies, Java programming, and web development. He has worked for multilingual companies and is currently seeking opportunities in Europe. Great. And well, if we then end up reading that profile, we end up, finding all that information out. But how is it that we can create this? Because, of course, I want to give actual practical examples, something that you can then say, okay, let me try it and put it into practice. And this can all be done directly from this button over here, where you, write that prompt. So if any of you are familiar with ChatGPT and have tried writing some prompts and requesting things to it and seeing how it outputs, it's the very same concept. The only difference here is that AI on its own is mostly just an assistant. But when combined with automation, you can have and automatically provide it the data it needs to actually make a customized response. So rather than saying write a summary, I could say write a summary. Of course, I can write a summary here, and then provide the info using the smart fields here that allow me to quote information about that contact, for example. So the summary should take into consideration the contact's name, the contact summary, the contact's company, basically any type of field I want to quote, and automatically add and give to the AI so that they know how to compile that message. I can have it, done for me automatically. And that's, basically the advantage of combining automation with AI. Exactly to show the prompt I was using for the summary, is the actual prompt I wrote, where I was providing it the company that the contact was working in, the role they're working as, the starting date of experience of their current, professional experience, their list of skills, and their profile summary. And with all that context, all that information, I was then giving ChatGPT that prompt, which is, as if you were a recruiter, write a summary, explain capabilities, skills, and activities of the candidate called first name. So like this, regardless of which contact I was selecting, meaning it was fully automated, I was having AI, ChatGPT in this case, generate that sentence for me and nicely make a more engaging sentence. Now in this case, it's a summary. So it's not creating a nice summary, but I can ask it to create a unique and engaging icebreaker message. And as you all know, if you've used ChatGPT, it's very good at creating those if you give it the necessary context and information about those contacts. And you can then further, of course, fine-tune it, saying how long should it be. So, of course, you can very easily then combine it into your messages by saying it shouldn't be longer than 30 words, and you can give it certain stylings. But that's basically all it takes. Simply then give the title to the prompt, so you can use it for future occasions. And just like that, I can now add that into any message I want to run, or even into my sequences of messages. And like that, I am both automating and also having a exceptionally more engaging experience thanks to those AI functionalities. And this allows you to then further concentrate as well on saving time, on having to think about too many, different sentences, or each time going over to LinkedIn or on your email inbox and writing those emails. You can have those initial, potentially mundane tasks automated, and even in this case with AI, personalized to a more advanced level. And we can then finally focus on actually having those interviews. You can, go more in depth on potentially doing those more human tasks that you normally wouldn't have had the luxury of spending the time on, or at least you wouldn't have had enough time to properly spend time with. And just like this, you can further enhance that productivity. Of course, speaking of recruitment workflows, databases, and sourcer workflows, also very handy in automating and facilitating your workflows are, of course, as well X-rays and auto update functionalities for profiles. Because as you may all know, keeping that information up to date is basically an entire job on its own. And Jobin, once again, automation tools allow you to once again automate that. So any profile, if they were to grow old or too much time were to pass and their data on the repository might end up potentially being obsolete, you can automatically update them anytime. Well, in Jobin's case, simply by selecting them, and then under here you can find a auto update or selected option. And for the sourcing case, there's also some options to source from even potential other opportunities or places on top of the LinkedIn sourcing. In fact, Jobin has a built-in X-ray functionality to directly search and facilitate finding contacts even throughout other websites and different platforms. And it can then automate extracting them as well, as long as it finds a LinkedIn URL and automatically imports it into the repository, once again, further saving time in having to, transfer all that data. And if any of you are already familiar with Boolean strings, or in this case, the actual Google search string, as they do have some nuances and more advanced functionality, we also do provide a actual blog that goes a lot more in detail on that. So you can find that. If you want, I can also link that in the description. And that gives you, I guess, lots more insights on how you can effectively create a search on Google to find exactly those types of contacts you want. And with that search, you can then have Jobin or automation tools then once again automate extracting that information for you and further, rendering your workflow more productive and time efficient. And with that said, I'd say this provides quite a bit of productivity functionality, and I'd say it's a great opportunity to potentially then delve a bit deeper into any particular questions you might have, or any additional tips or advice that come to mind as you try out AI automation tools that you think would help out in creating a more productive type of workflow for recruiters or sources alike. So looking through comments, Nelly mentions, how many times a day, a week do you use AI assistant?
Thank you, Michael, for your presentation. It was really insightful. So many features within your platform, and even I, being a marketer, want to use to try it in the part of outreach. So it may be interesting not only for recruiters and sourcers as well. So let's see if we have some questions on the chat. Guys, please, if you have questions, type on the chat, and I will ask Michael. So the first question from Nelly: how many times a day or week do you use AI assistants in your job?
So AI assistants can come very much in handy for pretty much any scenario, but also helps out in what I actually prefer using it is for general brainstorming, because AI is very inspirational and giving ideas, but you shouldn't necessarily use that as a mandatory thing to do. And that's why it's always useful to have basically a human manage the AI and basically coordinate it to help you enhance your own productivity, as opposed to letting the AI do things. Because that's oftentimes a misconception, where when AI gets introduced, people think that we end up doing things directly with AI, but it's not the case, because AI isn't really that sentient type of concept that you often see in movies. But to use a bit of a simplified comparison, you could even consider it like a very you could consider it a parrot with a very, very good memory, because the actual acronym of what ChatGPT does and what GPT stands for is that it's actually a generative pre-trained transformer, meaning that it's not actually inventing things, but it's basically cataloging all the information that it learned and then automatically outputting an answer that is relevant to your question. So to an extent, maybe a more easily comprehensible comparison is, you might consider it actually like Google, but it's automatically reading the response and giving it to you. So I wouldn't recommend just making it do things on its own, because you have to always kind of coordinate it. It's not necessarily sentient in that regard. So when you yourself, I guess, operate on things and want to have it assist you on any particular task, I'd say it's great, just as often as you would regularly just run a Google search. And yeah, great at providing lists, inspirational, I guess, drafts, and pretty much any task, even on regular questions. So I would say not yet as often as I would say. So as far as how often I use AI, I don't personally use it as often as I should, but it's more of a, I guess, yeah, getting used to kind of thing. Because ultimately, I think it's going to become, I guess, yeah, the next best thing, as it gives you. It's basically a more advanced version of Google. And how often do you use Google? I'd say, yeah, fairly often.
Yeah, definitely. I think we all will use AI, and we don't even know about that we are using it. So I mean, different features on Google, on other search engines, and so on and so on. The next question is from Shiv Kumar, sorry. Can you please help in building on basic drip campaigns?
Yeah, I'd love to. I can in fact showcase a actual example here. So these drip campaigns are, in Jobin.Cloud's case, fully customizable. So if I go over to a campaign that I've already constructed, I can directly both modify a campaign if needed, but actually for this example, I'll create a brand new one, which makes it, I guess, yeah, even nicer. So from here, it's basically this blank screen where I guess, yeah, where to start. So you basically press this plus icon, and this is where you say, what should the first action be in the sequence? Any contact that I add to this campaign, what should happen? So I can say I should send an email, I should send an invitation, send a LinkedIn message, withdraw an invitation, update a profile, assign something, which can either be assigning them to pipelines or tags, or even set up a condition, which is an automated filter, as shown earlier, and of course then wait timers. So you can very easily kind of construct whatever type of sequence you want. But one of the more neat tricks, or I guess, yeah, one of the more advanced functionalities that Jobin has as an automation tool, that's, I guess, yeah, it might be, I guess, something new that you might learn, is with these conditions, I can build, as mentioned, filters. And oftentimes you likely never saw, I guess, yeah, that many filter type features in a drip sequence. So I'll actually show a nice trick that you can run with these. Oftentimes when you're running a workflow, there's certain criteria that someone needs to match for them to be viable recipients for some type of message. And as actually a user mentioned recently, they called it like a drip sequence inception because it was a bit of a kind of a staircase of various filters that can be built on themselves to kind of create an all-in-one type campaign. So the very first condition I can run in this case is, for example, is to contact a first connection of mine on LinkedIn. So without having to micromanage and find who's already a connection of mine to reach out to them, if they're a great fit for the job, the campaign can automatically notice that for me. And if they're first connections, I can directly have them receive a LinkedIn message. So I can straight away engage with them. If they aren't first connections, I can run another condition, which is basically another filter. That's where the inception type comparison comes from. You can then have another condition. And in this case, I could, for example, say, is the profile an open profile? Now, this is a bit more of a unique tag or status that you can have on LinkedIn. But yeah, I'm sure, I guess almost everyone is very familiar with LinkedIn. But basically, anyone that is an open profile can receive a in-mail fully for free. So this means that even if you're on a free LinkedIn account, you're not using any paid in-mail credits or so on, you can still fully automate sending out in-mails to those open profiles. And the campaigns, and this actually thanks to Jobin's sourcing, as it's able to import if a profile is open, if a contact is an open profile or not. So that's also one of the special factors. But with this condition, I can once again specifically target them and have the campaign basically directly reach out to them and send them, in this case, an in-mail. You can switch between the message type from here. And you can then, of course, compile what the message should say. And you can, of course, also load the template. So I can, like, for example, load this template here and have that set up. And you can also quote job information to have it quote, say, the job that you're hiring for or the websites and so on. Then, like I said, that's basically that automated side of the personalization. But I guess following along in that campaign creation inception type workflow, lastly, if they're also not open to work, I can run yet another condition, which in this case says, is the contact does the contact have an available email address? And this is the same example I showed slightly earlier, where, well, if they have an email, great, let me make use of that. Why not send them an email? So just like this, fully automated in basically just one click, I add them to the campaign. The campaign is going to run a specific set of actions if they are already my connection, specific set of actions if I can send them an email, specific set of actions if I can send them an email address. And lastly, I can then say if they're neither connections, neither open profiles, and neither have an email, I can send them a connection request. And that basically allows me to have that fully all-in-one type of campaign that saves me all that trouble of micromanaging all the contacts and having to make tons of lists and different, potential hectic types of approaches for, micromanaging the variations that each contact has. And
Good.
I was just reading through a couple of the comments.
Yes, so I think we have a lot of questions. So the next one comes from Ololade. Is this like an extension?
So it's a bit of a mix because, well, in Jobin.Cloud's case, it's a bit of an all-in-one platform. So that's why it's a bit more of a complicated answer. So the LinkedIn side of things, basically the synchronization with LinkedIn and the sourcing functionality, be it from the X-ray imports and so on, that's all provided by an extension, which is auxiliary with the system. And then there's the actual platform itself, which is the website where you can build the campaigns, where you can have the database, and that's all stored in the cloud. You can run email campaigns and so on. And so, yeah, it's basically a mix depending on what types of actions or operations you want to run. And we also actually provide a fully free plan as well. So if you want to try it out, it's fully free. Simply sign in, and you can find the links, as Andrew mentioned earlier as well.
Perfect. The next very, very interesting question comes from Nelly. Is this platform easy to learn?
Yeah, so that's actually, a bit more a tricky question, because the more features you have, the more, longer that learning curve becomes. But that's the advantage also in automation, because that learning curve doesn't necessarily have to be, learned or grasped entirely, as we can already give very stable, frameworks for you to operate on and basically automate those more complicated tasks. So this basically means that although lots of things are being done, lots of features are there, ultimately, as far as your workflow goes, you simply have to click a button. So once you learn those, those basics, you have a very nice overview. So it can seem very overwhelming at the beginning, but once you get started and actually understand, how the interface, looks like and so on, then it's very intuitive, I'd say.
Good. Next question from Joseph. Sorry, guys, if I spell incorrectly some names. Will we have a database of profiles with contact info that is globally uploaded and is searchable within Jobin in future, not only limited the profiles I add?
Yeah. So currently, basically, you can create work groups. Those are basically kind of the what I showed earlier, in fact, was my own private work group that I built. And you can construct those work groups and share them with colleagues, clients, or even, the team for larger companies or agencies. So you can basically create yourself that's potentially even a massive database. We have some users that have a database with millions. Basically, these repositories are, of course, you can also share them. There's dedicated export option if you want to, pass them over to colleagues or simply have a saved local instance. And these databases are, in this case, private, but between your team, between your work group. They're fully, searchable, usable for, any future occasions. That's also why I mentioned that having that update functionality is very important, because with a database, you're going to want to be able to, grow it at any time. You don't want it to then become obsolete after, say, 5 years or so on.
Good. And I think the last one question is very actual for people who are scraping all this data and set up outreach campaigns. So how much my account save from LinkedIn identifying my account using robotic actions and ban my account?
It's a very sensible question, in fact, because LinkedIn doesn't like, of course, spamming, or of course, didn't want you to, kind of ruin that human experience that you have on LinkedIn. And of course, what Jobin does is, thanks in fact to being to operating and having that link with the LinkedIn via, so that connection that it has with LinkedIn via the extension, LinkedIn doesn't actually see any external IPs or external websites connecting to your account. The extension is fully local, it's fully on your browser. So from LinkedIn's point of view, you're just your usual, activity, you're simply logging on. The difference is that, of course, those messages are being sent for you, but since they can be well automated, we don't want to send them out all instantly. So Jobin has a built-in operation monitor that actually gradually sends those operations out at a human-like pace. And you can also then set limiters, because with LinkedIn especially, they do have limits that vary based on your LinkedIn subscription. So if you have a lower subscription one, especially on the LinkedIn free account, they tend to not let you do as much. So you can specifically set a limit that is, considered suitable for the LinkedIn free's limitations. Then, of course, with higher LinkedIn subscriptions, they let you send out, for example, more messages, or even, view more profiles. And speaking of those profile views, this is actually a very, LinkedIn specific answer that I didn't give earlier in the actual demo, is when I mentioned that you can source from searches on LinkedIn or groups or posts, you even, on top of helping you automate the mundane aspect of having to open each profile and view them, it actually saves you from viewing them, which is a limitation that LinkedIn imposes on you. So on top of actually saving you time, it saves you from those profile view limits that LinkedIn puts in place. So by extracting in bulk using the Jobin extension, you can actually avoid that profile view limitation, as the data extraction is directly done from the code. So that allows you to, easily import from searches without triggering those profile views. So even as a LinkedIn free user, you're not forced to, to give actual numbers here. With the LinkedIn free subscription, you can only view around 150 max a day. And if you view more, they kind of block you, saying you're not allowed to. So with this, you can actually not only automate and make yourself more time efficient, but you can actually go beyond what you'd normally be able to. Yes. And Nalin also, I quickly saw the question. Nalin mentioned if this data can be exported. Yes, there is in fact a export function. So if you have, for example, a locally stored repository, or maybe you have to send something via email, or you simply want to transfer to a different repository elsewhere, there's the export option. You can do so in bulk. Simply select the contacts you want to export, and it's then done all automatically for you.
Good. And I have one more question from myself. So you showed a lot of features within your platform, and it looks really like a lot of different things. So what about future plans? Maybe you have some plans for developing. Maybe you can unveil the curtain for us. What are you planning to do in the future? How do you plan to?
That's an awesome question, in fact, because as mentioned with AI, and these are all features that are already in the system. So of course, they're basically just a small portion of what we have planned, because, well, the whole AI and ChatGPT revolution is, well, quite recent, and this is already what we've been able to develop so far. So as far as we have as plans and developments, we plan, of course, on enhancing a lot more on those AI functionalities. We in fact have a like I said, probably recent, soon to release functionality that allows you to actually have a automated segmentation for the profiles as well. So on top of running filters automatically, you can also define a certain requirements, like, for example, does the contact have let's say management experience? And the AI is then going to read the profiles, see if they have management experience, be it through past experiences or current experiences, and you can then have it automatically assign a certain, say, tag or pipeline, so you can create and segment those for you. So anyone that has, say, management experience is going to receive a manager tag or something that you want. So this allows you to not necessarily have to exclusively rely on the data they specifically mentioned on the LinkedIn account, but you can also have it actually analyze sentences or more potentially complex concepts, and then segment them and provide them for you, so you have an effective list of people with management experience. And that basically allows you also to change or write any type of question as well. And this one's actually more specific for US. The one that I'm thinking of in this case is oftentimes a big, I guess, requirements in recruitment, especially in US companies, is that they have, for example, they require specific percentages of, I guess, for example, male employees or female employees or specific diversity type searches. So maybe they have a specific job opening, but it's only available to, say, to a woman. And oftentimes, of course, we don't want to add, say, I guess, bias to the searches, but when the requirement has a specific restriction, the recruiter, well, they need to search for the gender, and LinkedIn doesn't really let you do that, and you're kind of stumped there, and you end up saying, okay, what do I do? Do I just look through each one by one, so I can say I can offer you this position? That's, of course, going to be very time-consuming. So you can once again have AI help you, where you can say, given the country of birth and their name, is this person likely male or female? And then that's basically another thing that they can utilize to have AI help you out, in, especially also in those diversity job positions. That's some recruiters might, I guess, be forced to have to, I guess, to comply with the.
Interesting. One more question from Nelly. Nelly is very active today. Does this platform have a free or trial version?
Yes, correct. Jobin has both a free trial of its more premium features for even more advanced functionality, but it also has a fully free forever plan. So you can use it as a repository and as a sourcing platform anytime. And this allows you to directly have, rather than having to rely on, say, those Excel sheets or potentially, I guess, hard to manage databases, fully for free. You can already have that. And it also provides you with basic automation for sending out invitations and messages as well. So, and that's fully for free as well.
Nelly is asking for a link. I guess this is a link for Jobin.Cloud. I added the link to the description on YouTube, so you can open the description and you will see the link.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we don't have questions. So, Michael, thank you very much for your session, for your time that you joined us. Very insightful session, a lot of insights about your platform. And I encourage all who watched us to go and try. Jobin.Cloud has 3 free version, and you can try it right now. Thank you very much, and have a good time.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me, Andrew. And it was a pleasure also being, I guess, hosted here on Matchr as well.
So, guys, next week we are hosting another exciting session with Mark Hamill, a real guru in implementing AI in sourcing. Stay connected with us on LinkedIn, YouTube, and we'll see you next week. Bye.